says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." So here Lucifer is, while he has a position as the supreme ruler over the earth, there's others in God's kingdom that have equal ranks as Lucifer, ruling over other provinces within God's kingdom. And Lucifer, he found himself not happy with where God had him. And that's when he said, "That's it. I want God's place." He said, "I want to ascend above the other stars, which are angelic beings, sometimes referred to as stars, and I'm going to sit in God's seat. I'm going to be like God." And that's when God judged Lucifer. That's when his kingdom, the earth, became formless and void in Genesis 1:2. So here, now, Lucifer has become Satan. And periodically, God will call all his angels, all his rulers, up to this mount of the congregation. They'll all congregate here, and that's where God will discuss the things going on with his kingdom. And it says in Job that Satan appeared among them, and that word "among," it means that he was an equal. So Satan is still an equal with the other sons of God ruling over other provinces within God's kingdom. He's a fallen angel, but he's still nonetheless God's appointed ruler over this earth, and he still answers to God. God is still the ruler over the universe, and Satan can't do anything without God's permission. So we see in Job that these sons of God are angelic beings. Look over to Job 38. This is dealing with the restoration that we find in Genesis chapter 1. Job 38 verse 4, he says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who has laid the measures thereof, if you know, or who has stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy." Referring to angelic beings. So there's two places that we find the sons of God that are referred to as angelic beings.
So you are saying the sons of God are angels that he has made just like Lucifer?
Just like Lucifer. And I personally believe the sons of God in Genesis chapter 6 are angels that rule under Satan. And if you remember several months ago, we looked at Satan's kingdom, from Ephesians chapter 6, where it discusses the principalities and the powers. There were 3 different ranks of angels in Satan's kingdom. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. Satan rules over the earth, but he has angelic beings ruling under him, and we don't know how many angels there are that he has. It could be, numerous. But I believe the sons of God were angels, fallen angels under Satan. One other place we see the sons of God, or the term son of God, show up in the Old Testament, and that's in the book of Daniel. We won't necessarily turn it. Remember when the 3 Hebrew boys were thrown in the fire? Mm-hmm. And Nebuchadnezzar said, "I threw 3 in there, but I see 4, and the 4th is like what?" Our Bible translates it the Son of God, but it's literally a Son of God. In those days, they didn't understand who the Son of God was, but they understood what a Son of God was. Now, I personally believe that it was Jesus Christ in the fire with them, but Nebuchadnezzar didn't know who Jesus Christ was. He didn't know who the Son of God was, but they did understand the concept of a Son of God. Let's look at the New Testament. First of all, what's the difference between a child of God and a son of God?
If what you said was true, a son of God is made. I mean, God made them as angels,
Right?
and a son of God.
Child of God.
A child of God is someone born into God's family.
Yeah.
A son of God is something that's created. Look at Luke's Gospel, chapter 3. That's one of those fun chapters that, like we talked about last week. This person was the son of that person, was the son of that person. It goes on and on and on. It's
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
Luke chapter 3 and verse 38.
38.
Which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. Adam was a special creation. And what was Adam created for?
To rule over
To
the
rule.
Have dominion.
To have dominion. Sons are rulers. Children are not. Sons are rulers. Remember we talked about Israel? And what did God tell Moses to tell Israel? Israel is my... Remember? We looked at this a couple weeks ago. Son, even my firstborn. Israel was a special creation that God created to place at the head of the nations to rule over the other nations. Adam was called a son of God. He was a special creation created to take Lucifer's place. God said, let them have dominion. Now, he didn't take it. He failed the test with the two trees, but that was the purpose of God's creation in Adam. Let's go to, let's look at John chapter 1 real quick. I just want to make sure you understand the difference between a child and a son, because we again, that's words in our language. We really don't see the significance of the two different words, but it's real important.
John, what chapter?
Chapter 1 and verse 12. It says, but as many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the what?
Children.
The children of God. Anyone who receives Christ is born into God's family and becomes a child of God. Now let's go over to Romans chapter 8.
8.
Romans chapter 8. This is a passage of Scripture dealing with believers that walk after the flesh and believers who walk after the Spirit. Romans chapter 8, verse 14, it says, for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, and that's literally, it's for as many as are being led. It's a present tense verb. For as many as are being led by the Spirit of God, they are the what?
Sons of God.
They are the sons of God. It says, for you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you've received the spirit of what?
Sonship.
Adoption or sonship. What is the adoption?
When you're born again.
No, we've talked about this. What's the adoption?
Oh, that's on.
Are we born into God's family, or are we adopted into God's family?
We're adopted.
What's that?
Are we adopted into God's family? We're not.
We're born. That which is born of spirit is spirit. You must be born again. We are born into God's family. What's the adoption?
You get saved?
Again,
Okay.
we approach the Scriptures with our 21st century Americanized